what's up, guys? I'm Dak,
And I'm Neil.
And I'm Grant.
and welcome to the D&G Network, the place to be to get caught up on all weekly sports news. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and having a great day. And at the time of recording this, happy Mother's Day to all of you who are celebrating it today, because it is Mother's Day. Yeah, get that out of the way. But yeah, we got, I would say, a lot to talk about, but little things here and there in terms of all going across all four sports, all of the FW teams. So yeah, it's just kind of a lot per se, but just little things here and there for each sport. So whoever has the NFL segment, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you.
Before we get into the sports talk, little channel updates if you're watching on the YouTube side. As you know, the podcast always comes out Sunday nights. Tuesday, we are looking at getting out the first episode of our series that we put a trailer up for a few days ago. And later this week, expect a video of some sort to be out with the three of us in it. So yeah, just a little channel update. Now you can take it away, Neil.
Thank you, Grant and Dakota. Sounds like a lot of fun stuff coming to the channel, so look out for that. But we're going to go to the NFL, and we had a lot last week with the NFL draft, but just a few things to talk about this week. Nothing crazy. First is two free agent signings that we're going to discuss. The first one is Zay Jones, former Jag, is now signing with the Cardinals on a one-year contract. He had 321 yards last year and 2 tutties. And the other guy is former Cincinnati Bengal Tyler Boyd, is joining the Tennessee Titans on a one-year, $4.5 million contract. He posted 667 yards and 2 tutties last season with the Bengals. So guys, I will throw it to Grant first. Which one, Grant, is going to make the bigger impact with their new team?
I mean, they're both kind of lackluster wide receivers at this point. But I'm leaning more towards Zay Jones, which may be the unpopular opinion. But I think the Cardinals have had a really good offseason with that draft that they just had. And they add in another wide receiver piece to kind of round out their wide receiver core. And if I'm not mistaken, Zay Jones is still a little on the younger side too, right? Like maybe 25, 26 at this point.
I don't know.
Either way.
See, Zay Jones is 29.
Oh, well.
And Tyler Boyd is...
I guess he gives a little veteran leadership into that locker room thing.
Same age.
But yeah, I think it's a good signing to kind of pair with Marvin Harrison and the other wide receivers that the Cardinals got.
Yeah, I have to agree with Grant on this one. I could say Tyler Boyd, but when I look at the Titans roster in terms of their depth chart for the wide receiver position, like, name me one player besides Tyler Boyd for the wide receivers for Tennessee. Can't name you one.
Is DeAndre Hopkins still there?
He is, yeah. And Calvin Ridley just signed too.
It's funny how I said that and then I completely forgot both of those. It happens to me every time. But besides that, it's like, yeah, you got Calvin Ridley, who might have an average season, and DeAndre Hopkins, who's probably slowly going to start progressing or digressing in the next probably year or two, but slowly but surely, obviously. So I think for Tyler Boyd, great. You're going to add to that, but it's like, do you really have an offensive line besides maybe J.C. Latham, who's going to probably be a good addition to their line? Who's your quarterback going to be? Because you got a choice between a guy named Malik Willis, who is overhyped, and you got a guy who drinks coffee with mayonnaise in it. So it's like, and you got Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard. So it's gonna be an interesting situation on how that works out, because last time I checked, they don't really have a defense.
You don't
But for the
trust
Cardinals,
the Mayo Man himself?
well, Levis, I hope he does good, but I can't guarantee it. But I think for Zay Jones, it's probably the better situation because he does bring a veteran presence. He's slightly on the near side, obviously, almost 30, but veteran presence. He might be able to do good because he's going to have a quarterback who might consider passing it, or he might be like Lamar Jackson and either pass it or run it every time. So
Will
it's
he
going to
be
be
able to see
interesting
him,
to
though?
watch out for. He's not Bryce Young, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely some solid points there. I'll just quickly say, I mean, these are two below average receivers that I don't think are going to make crazy amount of impact with their teams. But I'll probably just say Zay Jones more than Tyler Boyd because the Titans do have, Calvin, Traylon Burks, and Hopkins. So, Tyler kind of there for insurance purposes. I mean, Zay Jones. They say they got Marvin and some other guys, but I think he will just be more of a good veteran presence that will probably get a little bit more playing time, I think, in the Cardinals. So, but either way, both are not gonna significantly impact those teams. And we're gonna move on to our last topic here in the NFL, and that is that to no surprise, I don't think to anybody, is that the Bears have named Caleb Williams QB1. So Caleb Williams is going to be the starting quarterback come opening day for the Bears. And guys, I'll start with Dakota on this one. What does this mean for the Bears? What kind of how about a little prediction? How you feeling about Caleb? Going into this, and Chicago kind of they stacked some players around there. Got a DeAndre Swift at the running back. So with Caleb Williams being the number one quarterback now, what does that mean for them, Dakota?
I think we could say like, oh, it means great. They got their franchise quarterback. But then you look at Justin Fields, who turned into like a Lamar Jackson. He was decent, and all of a sudden he either threw the ball or ran the ball. So when I look at Caleb Williams, was able to watch some games like Washington versus USC this past college football season. Great season, by the way. The thing I noticed about his style of play is that he's more like a pocket passer. Obviously, he's not going to be like a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, where he only scrambles out of the pocket if necessary, where it's like every like 20 to 30 plays is going to scramble. No. Occasionally he would scramble, but more than likely he's going to be staying in that pocket. So I think it's going to be interesting to say the least. Obviously, it's not really a surprise, but the good thing about him coming into the season compared to Justin Fields going into his rookie season and having him just go into Chicago, the key difference is he has weapons. You got at least probably a solid tight end. You got multiple weapons. You got DJ Moore. You got Keenan Allen. I believe another guy that I'm probably not naming. And you've got DeAndre Swift behind you to run the ball to carry the work, like take some of the workload off you. So I think it's going to be interesting. But depending on how probably the first 3 to 4 weeks go, it'll really show. Will the Chicago Bears be able to say that Caleb Williams is their franchise quarterback, and will he end up having a better tenure than Justin Fields did?
Grant,
Overrated.
knew that was coming.
Overrated. Y'all hear those chants? I wonder where those come from.
It came from somewhere. I don't know where.
The Bears are going to win 7 games this year. 7. Just 7. Because,
Is that
I mean, yeah, Caleb Williams might be better than Justin Fields, but it's only because Justin Fields never had a wide receiver to throw the ball to or a running back to take some of that pressure off of him. But if I'm not mistaken, they didn't make a single change to their O-line, did they?
Not that we know of, at least.
Neil, do you know?
beats me? No.
Yeah, so obviously no notable upgrades to their offensive line, which was their biggest weakness. So, how do you expect a quarterback to do anything behind an offensive line that can't give him any sort of protection?
Yeah,
Regard
yeah, sorry, continue
I mean, like,
Juggernaut.
regardless of how overrated he might or may not be, like, he's not going to be able to do anything if he only gets like 2 seconds of protection.
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree with you, Grant, on this one. I think my point was also going to be the same thing, that the offensive line did not get better, but you nailed all of that. So honestly, I won't add too much except that yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty average season. I think they did a nice job getting him some, a good veteran in Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, who one of the guys I've been pretty high on that I think could be a stud, and then obviously the new rookie receiver that they drafted. So they definitely got some talent. Got DeAndre Swift back there. So we'll have to see. But I can't see them. I'm with Grant. I think it's a solid 7-8 win season for them. So yeah, that's all I got. And we're gonna move on to a nicely packed, lots of information NHL section from our boy Grant. Take it over, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We'll get started with the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Maple Laughs, if you want to call them that, because that's what they
Mm,
are.
mm, mm, mm.
They fire head coach Sheldon Keefe. Shocking. Nobody saw that coming, because when your players don't perform, fire your coach. After their third consecutive playoff exit, and do we think it is finally time that the Maple Leafs will blow up their core of Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and John Tavares? Do you think one of those gets traded this offseason?
Mm. Um,
Because
man, yeah, I'm
obviously
really,
it's not
yeah.
working for them.
It's not. I think that. I mean, every year they're. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, because I don't watch hockey a ton. But at least I just don't know it as well as I know other sports. But correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't the Maple Leafs like one and done pretty much every year in the playoffs?
They've won one
Or
playoff series in like the last 40 years.
exactly, yeah. So it's definitely when something's not working, it needs change. And like you said, you can fire the coach, but that doesn't mean that if your players aren't playing well, then yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, blow it up. Let's have some fun with it. Let's just change the culture a little bit. Let's send Mr. Robertson to join his brother in Dallas. We'll send you Joe Pavelski. Um, and yeah, that's all I got for
I
you.
mean,
What do you think?
there's been talk for the last 2 seasons that they're going to trade William Nylander. They're going to trade Mitch Marner this offseason, and they haven't done it. Now that they're paying all four of those guys over like 9 million each, which is taking up a third, if not more, like maybe even close to half of their cap space for four guys. That's not how you win in the NHL. It's just not.
So
It's not when you're cap. You only have like 82 million in cap.
right. So let me ask you this: so past those four guys, are they like below mid players after that? Just a bunch of just
I
blah
mean, you
players.
have a couple like all right, like solid second line type guys,
Mm.
but then the rest of the roster is just like, why is this guy in the NHL? Why
Isn't
is
Max
Ryan?
Domi over there?
Yeah, why is Ryan Reeves playing playoff minutes for you? He does not do anything except try to fight people, and nobody fights him because that's the only thing he's good at.
Freaking Reeves, man.
And they have Austin Riley in their decor, and then nobody else. They signed John Klingberg for like $4 million just for him to get hurt, even though he probably wasn't going to be good for him and probably would have cost him more goals than he probably would have helped them score because he's terrible defensively. That whole roster just has problems, but they refuse to fix their problems. They just fire the GM and fire the coach every 2 or 3 years. And Dakota, I know you didn't get to put any input in, but do you have anything else to say, or do you think they're gonna blow it up?
I mean, y'all already hit a lot of points, so it's like I can put some input, but it's not gonna mean the biggest of things. But I think you made some great points because I was gonna make my point, but then you mentioned the whole thing of you got a limited cap space. You're only paying for basically a starting five, missing one player. So to pay just basically almost like a one full line of three, basically what like two defensemen kind of thing with two guys on the offensive side, that's not going to be a good look because if you only pay for four players and all your other guys are below average, then it's not going to be a good look. That means it's going to kind of be like how the Suns are this season. Obviously, it's a random, irrelevant analogy, but they're already paying four guys, and what happened? They got swept in the first round. What did Toronto do? They're paying four guys. They got eliminated in the first round as well. So just because you're moving on from your coach does not mean anything. Because it could probably be the same thing if you hire a new coach. The same thing happens, you got to blow it up. So I think it's better to do it now rather than later to just simply blow it up. Maybe keep one or two. At
So
most two, definitely one.
I just looked it up. Matthews' new contract extension kicks in next year. He'll be making 13.2 million. John Tavares has one more year on his deal at 11 million. Mitch Marner has one more deal on his year at 11 million. And William Nylander's contract extension kicks in next year and he's making 11.5. No,
Exactly.
they only have 6 more forwards on the roster after that. And their forward cap hit is already 55 million. They are set to lose Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi this offseason, and they have a couple RFAs, but they're set to lose TJ Brody, Joel Edmondson, Mark Giordano, and Ilya Labushkin on the defensive side. That's half their decor gone that they aren't going to be able to re-sign.
Oh boy.
Because with their
they got a lot of things to figure out.
With all the contracts that they have right now, they would be sitting at, let's see, 62, almost 63 million. So they have like 20 million in cap space to fill the rest of their roster, and that is not including 2 of their 3 goalies are going to be UFAs at the end of the year. And that is not including all the money that they had on LTIR, long-term IR. But all those guys are UFAs at the end of the year. So if they want to keep Matt Murray, Jake Muzzin, or John Klingberg, they have to repay them too. They are in a terrible situation with no cap space because they are paying 4 forwards $11 million or more. You look like a team like the Stars. They are paying Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn a little over $10 million each right now. Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, all their homegrown guys, they're just now getting their bigger contracts, but they still are not paying them $11 million. Like, there's no reason they should have paid. I don't. Enough Maple Leafs talk. Okay. Ranted too much about him. Let's move on to another person that I've ranted too much about in the past. That is Rick Bonehead Bonus and his boneheaded system. But in all seriousness, congrats to him, as after 42 years of coaching in the NHL, he has decided to call it quits and retire. He started his coaching career with the Jets, and then he went to the Bruins, Senators, Islanders, Coyotes, obviously the Stars, and then back to the Jets. He was also a assistant coach during his time with the Canucks and Lightning, and I think he was an assistant coach with the Stars at one point too. And he coached 2,726 games, which puts him first all time in NHL history for amount of games coached. So, congrats to him, but let's turn our attention to the team he just retired from. As what does this mean for the Jets, who just made their return to the playoffs after missing last season, and were looking to build on a successful season with some of their young core?
This means that they're going to get better.
It means they'll figure out how to score goals again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not honestly, I was joking, but not really joking, because, yeah, I mean, they're gonna get a different culture now in that locker room now, and we all know how Rick Bowness wants. It's old, say it's old school hockey style that just clearly I don't think works anymore. I don't know if it ever worked, but maybe it did. But yeah, so they're just gonna get a culture change in that place, and hopefully can get past the first round. But yeah, shout out to Rick. Congrats, my guy, and it was certainly frustrating to have you as a coach for Dallas sometimes, but you know, um, yeah, we appreciate your experience and longevity. So there we go. That's all I got.
Yeah, you made some great points about how, yeah, although I will say I'm a casual fan of the Stars, because up until probably the past few years, probably like 2016, 2017, that was when I kind of started becoming a fan. So I'm just more like laid back compared to Grant, who's got like everything down. But I think I've kind of known about Rick Bonus mainly because of Grant's rants about him being a bonehead coach. So in terms of the question he asked, I think that it's going to be interesting, like how Neil said, it's going to be a culture change, because when you move from coach to coach, it's going to be a different system, different culture, different style of play, just different logistical things. So I think it's definitely a move forward, because you get out of the bonehead system. So I think it'll definitely be interesting to watch and see how they can build from here to the off season, to the draft, and then to the next season after this.
Yeah, and just to touch up, his system was more of a defensive, physical system. Like, he focused on defense first and being physical on the forecheck that would lead to scoring chances. That's what his system was. That system works great in the regular season. That system does not work in the playoffs, where every team becomes a defensive, physical team. And what Colorado was able to do was they were able to be more physical, and they have the high skill players that the Jets kind of lack, to be honest, because nobody on the Jets is on the tier of Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon. So they were able to just blow them out of the water because the Jets couldn't score. And that's the same thing that happened when the Stars ran into the Lightning in the playoffs when the Bonus was the coach. But again, enough ranting about random topics. Does y'all have anything more to add to Rick Bonehead bonus before we move on? Nope.
Good riddance.
We're all good. The draft lottery happened this past week, as we'll just quickly give you the top 5 picks. The Sharks retain their number 1 pick after being the worst team in the league. Then it's the Blackhawks, Ducks, Blue Jackets, and the Montreal Canadiens rounding out the top 5. Y'all got any input there?
Got nothing for you.
Okay. So we'll move on to an interesting thing here, as there are more reports out on the new Utah team, or the old Coyotes, whatever you want to call them. But it has been reported that Utah will only wear the word Utah across their jersey in their inaugural season and hold a fan vote in order to pick their name. And they released 20 potential names that they are going to put into the fan vote. Those include the Utah Blast, Utah Squall, Utah Storm, not Storm, Swarm, Utah Powder, Utah Black Diamonds, Utah Caribou, Utah Freeze, Utah Venom, Utah Frost, Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Fury, Utah Yetis, the Utah Blizzard, Utah Outlaws, Utah Hive, Utah Mammoth, Utah Glaciers, Utah Mountaineers, Utah Canyons, and the Utah Ice. So after all those terrible names later, anybody have any favorites?
Yeti.
The Utah Black Diamond. What the heck? I'm trying to be serious. What do I like?
So I will say this. When I saw this post about all these names, I looked in the comment section to kind of see who was saying what. Obviously, there's a lot of love for the Yeti name, which I don't get it. It doesn't sound great to me. But the top comment in the comment section was this guy saying they should be called the Utah Sting, and their mascot is a bee because bee is the state insect of Utah, and they can call the arena the Hive.
Okay.
So, I mean, I kind of like that idea, but if I had to pick any out of this list, I honestly don't know. I mean, you can't go Blizzards because you already have the Avalanche.
True.
And if you go Hockey Club, then you're just being lazy.
Yeah.
Washington Commanders.
Nobody even knows what a squall is, so why is that even an option? Aren't mammoths extinct, so why would you be a mammoth?
The Utah. I mean, like anything with ice, glaciers, blizzard. Isn't that all just frost too close to the freeze?
Like freeze,
Avalanche, or...
frost, glaciers, and ice, they're all just generic hockey names. Like, that doesn't do anything to Utah. What would the Utah Blast represent?
I guess if you're going on to the bee thing, then swarm or hive could make sense, but
Yeah, I can see Swarm making sense, but Utah Swarm.
I'm a fan of the swarms. I don't know.
I just looked up what squall means, and it says a strong wind characterized by a sudden onset in which the wind speed increases at least by 16 knots, and so on and so forth. So basically, there's going to be the Utah wind, Utah strong wind.
I mean, I kind of like Utah Venom. But what about Utah screams Venom? How would that relate
Nothing.
to where they are? I mean, obviously the name doesn't have to make sense. because you look at some of the other names around the league. Like, you can make an argument that the Dallas Stars don't make sense, even though they're the only team in Texas and Texas Lone Star State. But still, like,
Yeah,
some of the other names don't make sense. There's not Panthers in Florida, is there, Neil?
there 100% are.
Oh, there are? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was Panthers in Florida.
Sorry, it's hard to debunk that one there, Grant.
Okay, there aren't no
Yeah,
Kings in LA.
I mean, there's no Kraken in Seattle, right?
Yeah, Kraken is a fictional thing, so I guess you don't have to. They're like, okay, we don't have to make up something realistic. We can just let's be the Utah Unicorns.
Will be the Utah Powder. I don't know. Like, what are
The
they talking about?
Utah
Cocaine?
Powder. The Utah Powder sounds like the whole team's drug addicts.
Let's be the alternate uniforms, just all white with like blue letters or something.
But anyways, yeah. So I think we gave an opinion on each of the names there for you.
Oh, we
The
forgot the
Mountaineers,
caribou.
though.
The caribou.
Caribou, caribou.
This should be the Utah Meese, the plural of moose. Okay, we'll move on to a more serious note as we have a playoff update like we always do now that it's in the playoffs. As the Stars lead over the Avalanche 2-1 after a win last night. The Canucks and Oilers are tied at 1. The Panthers and Bruins, the Panthers lead 2-1 right now. And a little side note in that series, as after a hit from Panthers forward Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand is officially ruled out for Game 4, which does not spell good news for the Bruins. As if you see the video, Marchand is going for a hit on Bennett. Bennett sees this at the last second, kind of reverses the hit, and catches Marchand a little up high. But my question to y'all, did that look intentional? Did he try to hit him up high on purpose?
I'm watching it right now. So Dakota, I don't know if you've seen it yet or not.
Yeah, I was kind of watching it while we were discussing all the Utah names, but we could say, oh, he did. But when I look at it at slow mo, I don't see much of like, oh, it's towards the head. It's a big old hit. If you look at it, I'm seeing shoulder to shoulder or like more shoulder to back contact. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be divided, like, oh, it's a big deal. He's a villain. He needs to be suspended. I look at it, it's a normal hit. Obviously, it's just more repercussions or more impact upon Marchand than he kind of expected from that kind of play. Because he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for the hit," but then once Bennett saw it, he tried to, like, I guess, apply the force that Marchand was gonna apply. Bam, got the hit, and ended up basically slamming into the wall, going. So
So I will say both players have a history of dirty plays. Obviously, we've covered some of Brad Marchand's antics over the year, but Sam Bennett's been suspended a couple times for some questionable things. But in my opinion, I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't think he meant to catch him up high, even though he did just a little bit. I think it was like a reactionary thing. He tried to dump the puck in, looked up at the last second, saw him coming at him, and just kind of like threw his hands up just to protect himself. And obviously, Marchand got the worst end of it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think it's a pretty clean hit. I mean, maybe like you said, with the history, it's just almost natural to question it. But I mean, I watched it again. I truly don't see. I mean, Jamie Benn's hit last night, which I think was clean, was to me even closer than that hit. So, um, I just don't see where that's dirty at all in my opinion. And yeah, Marchand no offense to the guys, kind of had that coming anyways. I've seen so many videos on TikTok and Instagram of him trash talking, and especially against the Maple Leafs, he's just, anyways. But yeah, looks
He's a
quite
little
clean to me.
he's a little rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on. The Rangers and Hurricanes. Rangers lead that series 3-1. So another question here: which of the series has been the biggest surprise?
I'll start with this one. I mean, I think the first three we talked about aren't. I think like Dallas Avalanche doesn't surprise me that that's 2-1. Avalanche are, it's a very good team, at least offensively. The Canucks Oilers at 1-1 doesn't surprise me. Panthers and Bruins, Florida leading that 2-1, honestly doesn't surprise me. So I'd have to go with the last one, the Rangers and Hurricanes up 3-1. Yes, the Rangers got the President Cup, but I think the Hurricanes are better than being down 3-1 right now. I think they're a better team. So that one does shock me. And I mean, I do believe, and could correct me if I'm wrong, they were actually down 3-0 before they just won one. So yeah, that does surprise me. And like I said, I understand that the Rangers are the best team in the league, but I did not see them absolutely steamrolling over the Hurricanes like this. So again, still never know. Certainly, in hockey is one of those ones where you could come back and win 4 in a row, but still, I just wasn't. Yeah, that's the one that shocked me for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
You can go, Dakota. I was saying I agree.
yeah, I had to completely just be with you on that one. Obviously, I could say like, oh, Stars, Panthers, Canucks. Like I could say any of those series, but Canucks and Oilers being had at one close series, back and forth, very understandable, makes a lot of sense. But the thing that caught my attention from those three is that all of them are going to be back and forth, which is not really a surprise to me, especially when you look at the Stars versus the Golden Knights. It was back and forth, winning one game at a time. And the Panthers and Bruins, you got Canucks and Oilers winning one game at a time, which the Brad Marchand injury situation, him being out, will play a factor in Game 4. At least I would like to think. But the only thing that really catches my eye is going to be the New York Rangers versus Carolina Hurricanes. Because I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe it's going to be back and forth, go to 6, go maybe even 7, potentially. But more of like, go to 6, Rangers get it in 6. But to see them go up from, it was like, okay, 1-0, 2-0, yeah, yeah. Then it went 3-0, and I'm thinking, oh, Hurricanes did so well, and all of a sudden they're going to get swept by the Rangers. But they luckily avoided it to keep the series going. Obviously, it's not a great position because I kind of expected a back and forth series. So, depending on the outcome of Game 5, whether it's going to be a gentleman's sweep by the Rangers or it goes to Game 6, it'll be something very interesting to watch because from what I've seen so far, from watching the playoffs, obviously I'm not watching all of it. It's been an interesting run, at least to me, for the Hurricanes.
Okay, sorry about that brief little interruption, but yes, Dakota, I do agree with you and Neil that the Rangers Hurricanes series is by far the most surprising. The Stars being up over the Avalanche, I mean, we knew that was coming, obviously, as Stars fans. The Canucks and Oilers, everybody knew that was just going to be who can score more goals each night. Like, there's zero defense being played over there. And then the Bruins Panther series, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be as high scoring as it has been, but it does not shock me that the Panthers have been winning that series. But yeah, back to the Rangers Hurricanes. It's by far the most surprising because I didn't expect the Rangers to be up 3-1. Now, 2 of their 3 wins have came in overtime. So you can't say they've been absolutely dominating the series. Like you see 3-1 or 3-0 and you're thinking, "Oh, they're dominating." But 2 of those wins are in overtime. So it's not really a total domination. It's just obviously the Hurricanes are having issues scoring when it comes clutch time. That's what that says. But yeah, we look forward to more hockey playoffs tonight, as I think Panthers, Bruins, and Oilers, Canucks games 2 or 3 for the Oilers, Canucks, and 4 for the Bruins series are tonight. And I will hand it over to Mr. Dak for
Moi.
some basketball. Neil's favorite.
Thank you. Thank you, kind sir. Thank you, Oos. Yeah. So I would say we do have a lot, which kind of do. At first, I was like, oh, maybe some awards, maybe a fired and hired coach, and just some serious talk. But no, I actually got quite a bit. As firstly, we're gonna start with award winners. We got to find out who is the Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and the MVP Most Valuable Player. As the Minnesota Timberwolves center Rudy Gobert has won his 4th EPOI, which means that he now joins elite company. As with this award, he joins both the Dikembe Mutombo, and Ben Wallace as the 3rd player in NBA history to win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. And Victor Wembanyama won Rookie of the Year, to hopefully no one's surprise. As with this award, he becomes the 6th unanimous Rookie of the Year in NBA history. And his stats for the season: in 71 games, 21.4 points per 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game. And then the defending champion Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic has officially won his 3rd MVP trophy. And to talk about or bring up his stats from the season, excluding the playoffs, his average about 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists per game. So, with that being said, I'm going to ask this question to Neil as, were any of these results shocking in any way to you?
Not no. What I predicted for all 3, to be honest with you. So I would say no, but quickly go into detail. I mean, Rudy Gobert, that doesn't come as a shock. He's been pretty dominant down there this year for defense. That makes sense. Victor Wembanyama, Rookie of the Year, makes 100% sense. He's going to be competing for the MVP in a couple of years. He's a generational talent. That's not surprising. And the Joker, I mean, listen, I can't remember what you guys said, but I think we all agreed. I don't remember that Joker was going to win the MVP this year. I understand. I get, but to me that the league proved, even with SGA coming in second, that you have to be a top team pretty much to be the MVP. You have to be one of the top seeds, in my opinion, to get the MVP, because I just think that they did Luka wrong. I mean, Luka to me is the best player in the NBA, but because his team isn't winning to the degree of maybe Denver or the Thunder, he's just not really. He's kind of just laughed off, and I just thought that. Listen, I really do try to take the bias out. Yes, there's probably some bias in that, but still, I just think that Luka deserves a lot more respect than. I don't even know how many first place votes he got, but not a lot, and it's just. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very interesting to me. But congrats to all 3. And like I said, I'm not discrediting the Joker or Jokic, but I think he absolutely has a case and deserves it. But I don't know, just my opinion. So Grant, what do you think?
Yeah, I do agree with you. None of these are really that shocking. Rudy Gobert. It's not Gobert, it's Gobert. Just kidding, it's actually Gobert. I just like calling him Gobert because it reminds me of Gogurt.
Thank you, Grant, for that.
You're welcome. Now you'll never be able to unforget that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. What does Wembanyama remind you of?
Banana.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he was the obvious choice. Wembanyama was the obvious choice. The MVP was closer to me. I kind of honestly knew Luka didn't have a shot. It was going to be between SGA and Nikola Jokic, and to me, I think SGA deserved it more. But you can't look at those stats and argue that Jokic didn't deserve this. I just think SGA was a bigger impact. Like, if you take SGA away from the Thunder lose more games than if you take Jokic away from the Nuggets.
I agree.
Now, if you take Luka away from the Mavs aren't a playoff team. So, just saying. But yeah, all bias aside, I knew Luka had no shot. Did he deserve more of a shot? Maybe, but it's hard not to say Jokic didn't deserve it.
Yeah, those are some very great points, and I have to agree with both of you on this. As I was like thinking, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably gonna get it. Then all of a sudden, Rudy Gobert won. I'm thinking, if it's his fourth one, that's definitely a good thing, especially with how Timberwolves have played. Started out hot against the Nuggets, going up 2-0. Obviously, it's 2-1 now, but still a very dominant performance with the help of Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama. There was literally no other rookie that I could probably like really think of that would get this award, because you got to look. He's averaging a bunch of blocks, averaging what's his handful of assists, averaging a double in points and rebounds per game, and across 71 games.
I mean,
People are gonna.
the only other rookie that would have came close would have been Chet Holmgren, but I still think there's no way he would have even like remotely. Like, obviously he was unanimous, so.
No, it was no competition.
But Chet was probably a unanimous second place.
Yeah, I still wouldn't have put him up there. I get it. He didn't have his true rookie year, but it's like it would be a Ben Simmons situation all over again. He missed his first year. He's gonna compete for rookie of the year. It
What do
doesn't
you
make
mean?
sense.
Ben Simmons is still a rookie.
Anyways, so when it comes to the Joker winning his third MVP, like I said, it's no one's surprised. Obviously, I wanted to have some bias and say Luka should have gotten it, but y'all do make a great point. Is you got to look at just not how like, the player is playing, but how the team is playing. Obviously, Rookie of the Year and certain other awards don't always factor that, but when it comes to MVP, that's the one one award that truly factors that in. As when I'm looking online right now, and it says that Nikola Jokic joins a somewhat elite company as well, as he is the ninth player in NBA history to win 3 or more MVPs, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with 6, Michael MJ with 5, Bill Russell with 5, Will Chamberlain with 4, LeBron with 4, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Moses Malone with 3. So if you just look at all the stats compared to the other two guys, he's winning every time. So yeah, it's not really a surprise. Obviously, I want to have by say Luka, but performance, not just for the player, but for the team as well, plays a big factor. And I'm looking right now at the voting results for first place, and it almost seems unanimous, and to a degree, where first place votes for Nikola compared to the other two, 79 of the 100 allotted points, and then Shea is at 15, Luka's at 4. So if you want to argue in the comments or wherever you're watching this, be my guest. But the results don't lie, stats don't lie in this situation.
LeBron James.
And speaking of situation, we're gonna move to a suspension, as Patrick Beverly, probably who's becoming most memed and hated or least liked player in NBA right now, his anger issues got the best of him, and he's now suspended. As the NBA suspended Beverly for 4 games for throwing a basketball at not one, not two, but multiple fans during the Milwaukee Bucks Game 6 loss versus the Pacers. So, I'm going to ask this to Grant. With his apparent rage issues and him constantly pushing his podcast up to every person who tries to talk to him, is he becoming one of the least likable players in the league today?
I think so, because I've heard reports that every single reporter who asked to talk to him He says they have to shout out his podcast or he will not talk to them. And at the beginning of every press conference that he has, he shouts out his podcast. Which, I mean, I guess you gotta respect the hustle, but it kind of seems very unprofessional for a professional athlete. And honestly, I don't know, like, what goes on in your brain, why you would ever throw a basketball at a fan. I mean, they were probably heckling him or heckling the team because that's what fans do. But you just can't do that as a professional athlete. You just have to tune them out. Like, honestly, he wasn't a very liked player before all this happened because of the way he plays. He plays scrappy, like physical defense, and I just he's becoming one of the most hated players in the league. That's no doubt.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, just the podcasting. I guess I've never taken time to listen to his his post game interviews, but that was new to me. That's just crazy. I mean, like Grant said, I mean, well, I guess you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, the whole basketball thing was just a sad situation. I mean, yeah, I'm sure the fans. I mean, who knows what they're saying? Heckling, saying things that you don't want to hear. That's gonna happen to every single professional player, especially if you have a reputation like Patrick Beverly too. You're just gonna get talked to, and you got to zone it out. And we've seen in the past where players have a hard time. Right, Russell Westbrook is known to get into it with fans. You know, we saw Chris Paul. I think at a Mavs game, he was pretty upset with a Mavs fan one time. So it happens. But to take a ball, well, first of all, he asked for the ball. The fan nicely threw it back to him, and then absolutely chunked the ball at the fan, missed the fan, and absolutely doink a lady girl in the head. I mean, it's just a bad look. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, I'll just say, and Patrick Beverly, just hate to say it will, but when I turn on a game, I'm not trying to watch Patrick Beverly play. So, stop making it about you. Stop trying to bring all this attention to you, and just go play the game. And I don't know. It's just it's a sad situation. And yeah. Also, did you see Kyrie and Luca too are also getting into it? I mean, but you see, like Kyrie talks back to the fans, right? I mean, he was saying some things to the fan. Luca always is yelling and screaming at the fans, but to throw a ball like that at somebody is just next level.
Well,
So
I think
just
the thing you're talking about with Luka and Kyrie, the ball went out of play and like one of the fans sitting courtside grabbed it and the Mavericks were trying to move fast in transition and he refused to give them the ball to inbound it.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So, and yeah, exactly. I did see that, but Luca just looked at him and laughed about it and was just like, "What an idiot!" I mean, Patrick Beverly probably would have put him in a headlock and pounded him on the ground for some reason. I just don't know. Patrick Beverly's just
He would have
always.
like grabbed the ball and tried to pull him out of the seat onto the floor or something stupid.
So yeah, it's just a bad look for him. So and also side note, I don't think we're talking about this from what I can tell, but just a side note real quick and is how does Jamal Murray, speaking of things getting thrown, how does
Oh,
Jamal Murray, I mean, listen, I understand that he got a big fine, okay? He got a big fine, but how does he not get suspended for first of all, he tries to throw something the first time.
Heating
Miss
pad.
he misses it. So he says, "You know what?" He grabs the heating pad the second time and chunks it at the referee, but I just I I don't know. Maybe your thoughts on that too, because I was just thinking when I thought of this, I thought about that too, and I just thought, why are these players throwing things? Yeah, it's crazy to me. So I'm
I
assuming you guys saw that as well. So
yeah, I did see it. I forgot to add it in, but yeah, speaking of very unprofessional things, that is very unprofessional. He did call out the refs in the post or post-game conference, and that got him a fine too. But honestly, I think the only reason they didn't suspend him is because it would tarnish Jokic's legacy. Oh no, the Nuggets might not win without Jamal Murray, and we can't not have the MVP win because then we'd look stupid.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. So
Yeah, that's definitely a good point about Jamal Murray. I completely forgot about that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. I couldn't help but just laugh about that. But yeah, it's just kind of sad to see that kind of expectation from Beverly of, oh, I'm not gonna talk to you or let you interview me unless I can promote, like, do a self promotion, because it's like you said, it's when you're playing basketball, it's a team sport. There's no I in team. It's not all about me, as a lot of players have had to learn that it's not about me. I want to say MJ has, but that's probably a different story for a different day. But it's just, you gotta learn just self awareness. You gotta understand that you gotta put other people first. You can't just put yourself first, otherwise people aren't gonna like you. But even though that doesn't really matter to a certain extent, but anyways, we're gonna go and move on from suspensions to the Suns, as in the span of 2 days, 2 days, they went through a coaching carousel. Now, what do I mean by coaching carousel? They basically fired a coach, and the very next day, they hired a coach. So, on Thursday, May 9th of 2024, after a lone season, Frank Vogel, the head coach, who apparently was not liked by Kevin Durant for his coaching system, well, the Suns went and fired him after a single season, and I say two things from this. Underachieving tenure, which they entered the season with high expectations of finishing first place in the West, when you have guys like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, even though Kevin Durant's like 35. And they acquired Bradley Beal to go with them. But the team ended up finishing with a record of 49-33 and the 6th seed spot, which they ended up playing Denver Nuggets in the first round. And underwhelming results, the Suns would go on to play the defending champion Nuggets in the first round, just to get swept 4-0. And on Friday, the very next day, the Suns went out and hired former Bucks head coach and an NBA head coach, no, NBA champion coach Mike Budenholzer, as both sides agreed to a 5-year, $50 million contract, probably showing that maybe the Bucks probably shouldn't have fired him in the first place. But that's not my place or my thing to talk about. As Neil, will this be enough to fix the Suns, or do they need to make a significant change in their roster makeup?
I mean, it's a good start to change. I mean, yeah, I think they definitely need to make some adjustments to their roster. I mean, and maybe you or Grant can correct me, or especially Grant since he's more hockey. But I mean, the Suns kind of remind me of how you're talking about with the Maple Leafs. I don't know about the contract details, but I mean, look, you got Durant, Booker, and Beal. You got three. Listen, I'll say they're not all superstars, but stars. Um, and after them three, sure you got Nurkic at center, which okay, and I don't know who, but all I know is that they got nobody on their bench. I mean, you start taking these guys out of the game, you're bringing in a whole bunch of nobodies, and they got absolutely no depth, and it killed them in the regular season. It killed them in the playoffs, and yes, I mean they didn't play well either. They're stars, but still, if your stars aren't playing well, you got to have a little bit of bench depth, and I'm not talking a lot, but they got nothing. So I think yeah, they definitely got to make some roster changes, and yeah, I mean I don't know the yeah they definitely need some changes. I don't know what all, but they got to get some depth. They yeah. So that's how I feel. And what do you think, Grant?
I was actually going to say that they remind me a lot of the Maple Leafs in
Oh, there you go.
hockey. Uh, I just looked up their contract situation. Next year they are paying Kevin Durant 51 million, Bradley Beal 50 million, and Devin Booker 49.7 million. They're paying Yusuf Nurkic 18, and they signed Grayson Allen to an extension, but it doesn't have his number on here. I think it was close to like 12 or 13 per year, if I'm not mistaken. But it does say they are already at 190 million on their payroll for next year, which is about 60 million over the cap. Which I'm not sure how they do it in NBA. Like, I know they have a luxury tax and everything, but I don't know the whole details of how high over the cap you can go. Because apparently the salary cap is not a hard cap like it is in the NHL. But they're screaming Maple Leafs-esque. You have the 3 top tier players making all the money, so you're trying to fill out your roster with decent other pieces with like little to no money, and it's kind of almost impossible to do. Especially when those players don't take team friendly deals. Like, you can go back and say, well, the Celtics did it, or not Celtics, the Heat did it when they had the big 3, but I'm pretty sure Dwayne Wade was on the team friendly deal when that happened. I'm pretty sure Chris Bosh took less money so he could go there and play with LeBron and Wade. So why they have 3, I don't know if you classify Beal as a superstar, but 3 stars on the roster, it's not going to be enough when one of those stars is aging, one of them can't stay healthy, and the other one is a crybaby.
Yeah, it just basically completes a trifecta for different little reasons why they are not good. If only they could have a Dirk Nowitzki-esque situation where he was offered. I remember seeing a report where many years ago he was offered a bunch of money to go play in Houston or like the Lakers, but he turned them down, took a basically team-friendly deal, and rejoined the Mavericks. So, knowing how I'm guessing seemingly unloyal per se Kevin Durant is, I don't see a situation like that happening, and I just don't know how they're gonna be able to afford to be able to have even a championship contender. I get it, you got players, but when you got your basically top guy who's the same age as his jersey number, basically, you got a guy who can't seem to do well in the playoffs, and you got a center who has the worst playoff percentage, and you got a guy who's basically injury prone at this point in his career. I don't know how you can, just because you went out and got a new coach doesn't mean anything. It's just what it's going to be the Maple Leafs too. They're going to get a new coach. They're going to win a championship. All of a sudden, first round, done. So they don't make a change. Nothing without a change for at least for their roster. It's gonna be an eternity before they can even do anything good. And with that, we're gonna move on to some just like a quick question, quick yes or no, or maybe adding something else. As the Dallas Mavericks have signed head coach Jason Kidd to a multi-year contract extension with the exact details unknown yet. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Do we like this move or not?
I like it. I think that obviously the Mavs finished really bad last year, missed the playoffs, but that was not Jason Kidd's fault. The roster makeup was terrible last year. You look at this year, they make trades to get Daniel Gafford, they make trade to get PJ Washington. Now they actually have pieces around Kyrie and Luka, and Kyrie and Luka had more time to gel together because they've actually been playing and haven't been injured all year. So the whole team is kind of gelling together, and now we're seeing what a full strength Mavs team can look like with some actual depth around Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much going to say the exact same thing. I really don't mind it. A lot of people have a strong opinion on Jason Kidd. Do I think he's the best coach in the league? Absolutely not. But honestly, when he took over, you got to think about some of the things that he's been able to do. And yes, a lot of it, the players got to play. But if you remember 2 years ago when they were in the playoffs, first round against the Jazz. No Luka. Jalen Brunson comes out and they win 2 games with just Jalen Brunson and no Luka. I mean, that was and again, I listen. Yes, Jalen Brunson played well, but I mean, the coaching and they coached very well. And another thing that I look at too is pretty much all these teams that have come in with Jason Kidd. The locker room is a very positive. You can tell these guys enjoy playing with each other. You can tell that these guys have fun playing with each other, and so you can tell it's a very positive environment for these players, especially on the Mavericks. And I just think that a lot of that, yes, is a combination of Mark Cuban and Nico and Jason Kidd, but still, I think that Jason Kidd has, I think he does a good job more than people think. And yes, I mean, was he in love with Dwight Powell? Yes. Do we forgive him for it? I'm working on it, but um, at least I do love seeing Dwight Powell come in with 30 seconds left in the game and we're winning. That makes me happy. But
I'd like to see
no,
him
anyway.
sent to the freaking Shadow Realm.
Yeah, we're working our way up to that point, but no, I think he's done a good job. I mean, look at Kyrie Irving. The media tried to say that this guy's an awful teammate, and I think he had some moments when he was up in Brooklyn, but I mean, he came to Dallas and he has gelled. Okay, did
He
it take
looks
some time?
happy
Last
in
year?
Dallas. He looks like
Yes,
he
he
finally
looks
found somewhere that he wants to be. Like
exactly
dating all the way back to like pre-LeBron Cleveland days.
correct. Exactly. Yeah, and again, I think everyone's got a factor in that. I think, like I said, Nico, Mark, but Jason Kidd does too, and I think he does a good job. And once again, we're in the second round of the playoffs, and yeah, I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, some people thought we'd compete against the Thunder, but not everybody. And so now we're 2 games up on them, and yeah, I think Jason Kidd definitely deserves it. And yeah, I mean, he's like I said, he's not the best coach, but he gives us a chance to win. And I think he also does a good job. And I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. So my last thing is that I think he does a good job of allowing like Luca, Kyrie, certain guys to just play. I thought you could tell like Rick Carlisle when he was there, it would upset Luca a lot because Luca's a very strong-minded like person, and I felt like Rick and him clashed because Rick was always just trying to be like, "Hey, I'm your coach. I'm better than you. You got to listen to me." And I think Jason Kidd does a very good job of just being very, what's the word? Like just I don't know, just
Balance.
even keel almost, yeah, like even keel with Luca and allowing Luca to just play and stuff. And I don't know, just things I noticed. So I think he's done a better job than a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah, it's some great points, and glad that they kind of settled on who's going to be their coach. Especially, obviously, last season didn't pan out the way we wanted. But the thing that came out of it is that it got us to where we are. We got to keep Kyrie. We signed him with the 3-year deal, where supposedly looking at the contract breakdown is that we get to keep him until that's this season. We get to keep him for 2 more seasons when he turns 33, up until the 2026-2027 season, and then Jason Kidd, yeah. This the coaching and the team's like meshing well. It's like out of the Mavericks in basketball, it's kind of hard to find. It's something that we haven't seen really in the Mavericks in probably years, probably maybe a few seasons, years. But I'll digress. As it's nice to see that we can be able to stick with a coach, even though it's just been kind of a bumpy last few years in terms of playoff success. And our final point, playoff update. Da-da-da, da-da-da. So, from looking on the Western Conference side, Thunder versus Mavs, and Nuggets versus Timberwolves, the lower ranked seed, which are the Mavericks and the Timberwolves in this case, are leading the series 2-1. And on the other side in the Eastern Conference, we got the Celtics leading the Cavs 2-1, and the Knicks leading the Pacers 2-1 as well, which means that the higher seeds are doing better. Not really surprised. So, to both of you, I asked the question: which of these four have been the most surprising?
I think personally, the 2 Eastern Conference series are going just about how I expected. And I think, obviously, it's kind of surprising that the Mavs are up on the Thunder, but I think it's more surprising that the Timberwolves have kind of demolished the Nuggets like they have in the first 2 games. Obviously, the Nuggets came back and won game 3, so they made some adjustments, but the Timberwolves went into Denver and took both games. Like, that's not something easy to do, and you gave yourself home court advantage now through the rest of the series. And honestly, that's just so shocking to me that they went into Denver and won both games.
Well, Grant took the words literally exactly out of my mouth. So, what he said, that's all I got. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So, yeah, thank you for that, Grant.
You're welcome. I read your mind.
Yeah, I could say that the Boston Celtics versus Cavs series is to a certain extent, to like a small degree, that it is a little bit surprising. You would think, oh, maybe it would be Boston 3-0, especially with how they played in the regular season, easily getting first place. But it just shows how resilient and how, I guess, how much of a fighting chance that the Cavaliers are giving themselves against a team like Boston. I get it. I think the main thing is that with Porzingis being questionable and being out and basically taking away a bit of a like that 5 slot, that big man position for the Celtics, that's probably playing a factor. But I think for me, it's got to be both the. I want to say the Mavs, but yeah, uh, I guess the words would be exactly what Grant said, is that it's got to be the Wolves leading the Nuggets. You would think, oh, it would probably be, I wouldn't say 3-0, but it would maybe be 2-1 in the Nuggets' favors, being the defending champions. You got the MVP. But Anthony Edwards has been playing lights out. They went 4-0, shut out the Suns. Oh, wait. Oh, I said Nuggets. I'm just remembering I said Nuggets versus Suns. Last time I checked, it was Nuggets versus the Lakers, and then Timberwolves versus Suns. I love how I'm just now realizing that. So apologies earlier. I should have said it was Timberwolves versus Suns because I watched that series. So, anyways, yeah, Mavs leading, kind of a surprise, but not crazily. And then Timberwolves 2-1 lead, pretty wild. So that kind of weird portion of me talking, we're gonna go ahead and move it straight over to MLB talk.
Okay, yeah, we'll get right into this MLB talk. We'll kind of run through these first couple points real quick because there's not much to add. We got another City Connect come out this past week as the Detroit Tigers debuted theirs with their Motor City across the chest and some like blue tire tread looking stuff down the middle of the jersey and the side of the pants. And any thoughts on these real quick?
Bid.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I don't hate them. Not like super in love with them. Certainly seen worse.
Okay, let me throw this out there. Have y'all ever watched NASCAR? Y'all ever watched the NASCAR
Yes.
race?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they not remind you of a pit crew uniform?
Like Jimmy Johnson's old pit crew uniforms.
They look like
Wait, no,
a
no.
pit crew uniform to me.
I see
Yeah,
it
I
now.
could see
Just
it. Yeah.
like if you threw like 3 or 4 more ads all over it, it'd just be a pit crew uniform.
That's true.
But yeah, we'll move on from that one. We have another update in the Ippei Mizuhara saga as the former interpreter for Shohei Ohtani has agreed to plead guilty to federal charges of felony bank fraud. And I mean, nothing else on how long he would be in prison for or anything like that. But y'all have any thoughts on him pleading guilty?
Not really. Just you know, I don't know. Just yeah, just interesting. But no,
Yeah,
hopefully,
how dumb
yeah,
can one guy be?
yeah. I mean, it's Welcome to America, buddy.
Okay, so now that we've got that little negative topic out the way, let's move on to some positive things. As we have talked about underachieving teams before in the past few weeks, but let's give some love to some teams exceeding expectations, as we got 3 on here. We have obviously the Oakland A's is the most notable one. Like, everyone expected them to be one of the worst, if not the worst team in the league, like they have been. But they're 19-22, only 3 games under 500. And then we have the Kansas City Royals sitting at 24-17, somehow only 3rd in the AL Central, as apparently the AL Central is good now. And the Washington Nationals at 19-19, at exactly 500. So I'll give this one to Dakota first. Which of these is the most shocking, answer that one first. Which is the most shocking?
I think for me, I could obviously got 3 great choices, and we could say, oh, it's the Royals. But it's a little shocking, but seeing how they're like getting better is great. It's no surprise because they're a young team. They're slowly getting better. They had a good position to succeed. And I think the reason why it's because of Will Smith. Because the last time I checked, the last 3 world champions have had a guy named Will Smith on their roster. So I say Royals maybe go for the title, but it's just a random just theory. But for me, the most shocking has to be the Oakland A's, because it's funny enough because to me, I've seen like a lot of like similarities and reference to a movie from the 80s, like the late 80s, called Major League, where the Cleveland Guardians, where they went by their former name, they had that Charlie Sheen being the main pitcher, and there's a lot of similarities between the movie and how the Athletics are playing now. So it's like it's kind of funny, but it's also very interesting to watch.
You started talking about movies. I thought you were going to bring up Moneyball.
Well, yeah, same.
No, Moneyball's a different story for a different team.
No, it was the Oakland A's too, though.
I know, but
Uh,
it was
but
it had
yeah,
to.
yeah, I'm gonna go Oakland A's too. I mean, certainly make points about each of these teams, but yeah, I mean, only 3 games under 500, which is not good in any. But for the Oakland A's, it really is shocking. I thought they would certainly be at the bottom of this division and be competing for the worst team in the league, but maybe they're coming around. I don't know, but I mean, you look at their starting line. Every time I look at their starting lineup, especially with that 4-game series we were playing, I was like, oh, I mean, that team. I mean, my goodness, could you have a worse starting lineup in the league? And their pitching rotation isn't great. I mean, they got a phenomenal young closer, but still just yeah, I don't know how they're winning. I don't know how they won 19 games, but except for the fact that Shea Langerly or whatever his name is just the new Chris Davis against us. Just absolutely crushes us apparently every time. So, but yeah, certainly shocking to see them doing better than expected. That's for sure. So yeah, Grant.
Yeah, Shea Langoliers turns into prime Barry Bonds when he goes against the Texas Rangers. Apparently, think he's got like 6 or 7 home runs this year versus the Rangers, and only 1 against anybody else. But yeah, y'all gave a lot of love to the A's, and Dakota gave a little bit of love to the Royals. I'm gonna go with the Nationals as the most surprising, as they have a couple young guys in their rotation, but the rest is just kind of eh. And then again, in their positional players, they have a couple young guys, and the rest are just ragtag. Nobody else wanted them, like Joey Gallo type players there. But it's just kind of shocking that they're at 500, especially in the division they're in. You look at that division, you have the Mets, you have the Braves, you have the Phillies, and then you have the Marlins. So, I mean, the Nationals are sitting in 3rd place too right now in their division, as all 3 of these teams are actually in 3rd place in their divisions. Funny enough. But yeah, I think it's just kind of shocking that they're kind of a lackluster team and they're sitting at 500 right now. So on the flip side, which of these is most sustainable for the rest of the year? I think it's obviously the Royals, though.
Yeah, only one
Let's
that.
keep it simple. Just Royals.
Yeah, because I mean, you have an MVP candidate in Bobby Witt Jr. You have they went out and signed a bunch of guys, and like Seth Lugo, who they signed, is having a good season. Hunter Renfroe is having a decent season out in the outfield, and then you have all their young guys coming up and actually performing now. And yeah, I think they're putting some of the pieces together, like, and they'll be good. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, especially considering their division get better now. But they might sneak into a wild card, and they could be a little sneaky team for the rest of the year. Y'all got any more to add onto there?
I got nothing. I agree.
Coda?
Nada.
Okay, we'll move on to a highly anticipated debut that happened as the Pirates called up number 2 overall prospect Paul Skeens as he made his MLB debut yesterday on Saturday. He went 4 innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 home runs, one of them being or 3 runs, one being a home run, 2 walks, and he struck out 7, putting his ERA at 6.75. Do we think he will have a bounce back start in his next start, or do we think he's going to have a Jackson Holiday-esque tenure and be sent back down?
I would just quickly say that I do think he'll have a back bounce start. I mean, that 4 innings is tough. I mean, they didn't stretch him out clearly, but I don't think. I mean, he started off really good. I mean, I don't. I think he had like 4 strikeouts. I think 4 or 5, 4 to start like the first couple of innings. Didn't give up a run. So he really started off strong, and then kind of got they got to him there a little bit later, and but I don't know. I think he's a really good talent. I think I'm with Grant. I mean, Jackson Holiday, I think is a little bit. He's not ready. I think Paul Skeens, he's definitely still young, and he's got definitely some more developing to do. But I don't know. I think he's going to be a solid player, and I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think he'll get sent back down. Is he going to have like an amazing game next time? I don't know, but I think he'll find. I think he'll keep a roster spot and be pretty consistently decent. So that's just me, though. I don't know. So
Yeah, there's nothing too crazy as from the looks of it. The common factor that I noticed is that a lot of times, especially this season from what I've seen when it comes to stats, is that a lot of times the uh, pitchers that make their MLB debuts, they're giving up a couple hits, maybe a run or two there, and getting a couple strikeouts at least. But the common thing I've noticed is a lot of hits and probably after 4 innings pitch. And when I think about it, I kind of laugh at the fact that we all made different predictions and we all got at least 1 or 2 different things right. The funniest thing was that I just said there was 2 runs, one is gonna be a home run, and it was. But from that, I think it's gonna be different from a Jackson Holiday situation because obviously, just like Jackson Holiday, they both seemingly blew through the farm system and got their call up. But just because they had a decent start of giving a couple runs and giving up a home run and only pitched 4 innings, the 4 innings pitch very common among rookie pitchers so far this season. Now, will they have the best perfect game? Will they have an amazing performance in the next start or two? Can't guarantee it, but I think it'll definitely be a bounce back. It'll be an improvement from this start for him. So I don't see him being called back down to AAA anytime soon. So looking forward to seeing what's in store for Skeens and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think he will have a bounce back start. I mean, he might give like 3 runs is not terrible for a start. It's just the 4 innings pitch just kind of low, but they didn't like push him too much. He got into trouble in the 4th inning, and they just kind of yanked him before he could give up any big inning. As I do think 2 of his runs came while another pitcher was on the mound. He just hit the runners were his runners, so but he did make a debut against a decent team in the Cubs. I think he will have a bounce back start, like I said. I don't think he's gonna. I think he looks more MLB ready than Jackson Holiday. Now, let's focus on the real question here: is Livy Dunn going to be the Taylor Swift of the MLB?
I can't believe I'm about to break this down for you, but
I can see it happening, so I'll say yes.
yeah, I'm with Dakota. I'll say yes to a degree. I mean, listen, like I said, I can't believe I'm about to break this down, but while you were talking about that, I was thinking about this, and I mean, every time Paul Skeens is on the mound, you're gonna hear about Livy Dunn. The camera's gonna show her. It's gonna happen. So to that degree, yes, but you got to think Taylor Swift's audience, the people she was reaching were 14 to 18-year-old whatever girls that are Swifties and all these girls. Livy Dunn is attracting a completely different crowd is why she's popular, because she is a, you know, attractive female from college that just took over the internet because it's just you just got a completely different audience that is tuned in with her than Taylor Swift. So that's the only difference there. There's my breakdown for it. So
Okay, nice. So do we need a new segment? Social media breakdown with Neil.
I don't know, but I don't know why I was just sitting there and I was just all that was popping into my head, and I said, I have an entire breakdown to this question. So
Well, that wraps up the MLB section. We'll hand it back over to Dakota so he'll take us through the DFW sports talk real quick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sirree. We don't have a lot, but we do have some stuff to talk about, at least in terms of Rangers, Stars, and Mavs. Obviously not the Cowboys because they haven't
suck.
done anything since the off season, and that too. But the Rangers, they're since the last episode, they are now 4-3 this week. They have basically blown 2 leads in the 2 games of the series that they've played so far against the Rockies, which is sad to see because they have the leads, they blow them and lose the game. And they are now entering game 3, which they could be on the verge of a sweep. But either way, they will lose the series. Womp womp. And past that, the Rangers brought back and acquired Mr. Robbie Grossman from the Chicago White Sox in exchange for a minor league pitcher by the name of Anthony Pupai Tuionetoa. I probably butchered that. I apologize. But anyways, Grossman is batting 200 and has a batting average of 200.200 with a .560 ER OPS and 4 RBIs this year in 27 games. Any thoughts about Robbie Grossman coming back, guys? Just quick thoughts.
I mean, they brought him back to replace Langford, as we will get to in a minute. But Grossman did provide a spark off the bench during that World Series run last year that he crushed left-handed pitching, which is kind of something that the Rangers lacked this year, with the majority of their outfielders only being able to crush right-handed pitching. So when your only outfielder who can hit lefties goes down, you have to replace him.
yeah, once again, Grant nailed everything I was about to say. So I'm 100% in agreement with that, and I think they brought him in exactly for that reason, and that is to hit right-hander or left-handers. and that's what they needed, so that's what they went and got.
Yeah, great points from all three sides. And then when it comes to the Stars and Mavs, Stars and Mavs both lead their series as 2-1. Key difference: Stars are the top seed compared to the Mavericks, who are playing the top seed in the Thunder. And then for the Stars, in Game 1, Mr. Ryan Suter, one of the captains of the boat that we'll get into later,
He's
became
not
the
on the
oldest
boat.
defenseman in Stars
What are you
history.
talking about?
No Suter on that was last year. He redeemed himself.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, I completely blanked on the fact that we removed him from the boat already. So I just in that thing of he's still on the boat. But so I take away that last statement. But anyways, he became the oldest defenseman in Stars history to score a goal in the playoffs at 39 years and 107 years old. So congrats to him on that. So after all that, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Neo for the good, bad, and the injured.
Thank you, Dak and Grant. And if you're like me, you're tired of hearing those guys talk so much. Now it's time to listen to me talk. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, guys. And we're gonna move on. We're gonna start with the good, and not a whole lot, but a few things to hit. And the first is gonna be with the Rangers, and that is with John Gray. He has a 1.1.5 ERA, 47 strikeouts, only 7 earned runs in his last 7 starts, pitching 42 innings in that span. So he has been pitching really well, and honestly, you can also just put him in the good for just being practically the only healthy pitcher as well these days. So, yeah, it's nice to see him start strong, as we know he can certainly get shelled periodically, but he is pitching very well, and yeah, it's great to see from him. And also on the Rangers, since his return from the IL, Nathaniel Lowe is batting .315 with a .857 OPS, 1 homer and 11 RBIs in 20 games. He has pretty much taken over that number 3 batting spot in the lineup these days, as he has been one of the most consistent hitters on the Rangers these days. So nice to see him kind of getting back to that silver slugger hitting. Maybe not the power, but certainly getting on base, which is what we need these days from these Rangers hitters. So nice to see him being able to get back to that style of play. And then third, we're going to move to a Mavericks player, PJ Washington, who we got in a trade earlier in the year. Yes, as you can see, Dakota is doing his little fancy day against the Clippers there. But PJ Washington led the Mavs in scoring in games 2 and 3, putting up 29 points, 4 assists, 11 boards, 2 steals, and 1 block. Have yourself, man, what a game! And in game 2, he had 27 points. Oh, that was in game 2. Sorry, the one before that. And this is game 3. He had 27 points, 2 assists, and 6 rebounds. So honestly, a big reason why we even have 2 wins against the Thunder, because honestly, Luka has been in a little bit of a rough go of it. Kyrie only scored 8 or 9 points in the first game, so someone else had to step up, and that guy is PJ Washington, hometown hero. Really, really good to see him get going. And yeah, that's what I got in the good. And Grant, Dakota, anything to add to these statements?
Nah.
Not really, except
Yeah.
for nice to see PJ Washington stepping up. And I mean, Luca is still trying to play, and you obviously tell he's injured, and that knee is really bothering him. But it's nice to see we can have another guy step up and take some more shots and actually make them.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I just wanted to, I don't know why I keep thinking of random things, but just a side note again. I was just thinking about, remember when Spencer Dinwiddie decided to pick the Lakers over the Mavericks and said it's because the Mavericks remind him of his mom? I wonder what he thinks about that statement now. So, anyways, I just thought about that. He's in Cancun while we're still playing. So,
Yeah, with that
anyways,
$1 bonus from signing with the Lakers.
sorry, just got distracted about Spencer. Sorry. Anyways, moving on to the bad. And in the bad is a pitcher that the Texas Rangers signed late in spring that started 4 games, and his name is Michael Lorenzen, and he has a 5.63 ERA, giving up 22 hits, 9 walks, and 15 runs in 24 innings. So, yeah, just not pitching super well. And honestly, the 9 walks, that is a lot of walks to give up. As you know, anytime you give up a lot of walks, it's a good chance of giving up a lot of runs. So, yeah, just not pitching very well, and yeah, unfortunate to see there. Hopefully, we can get it turned around, as we need the pitching to step it up, as we're going to get to why shortly. And I added this on there kind of last minute, and that is Joe Pavelski. And I threw his name on here last second because honestly, I was watching Joe Pavelski a couple of games, and I just was gonna keep my mouth shut until I saw him last night. And not only has he not scored, I couldn't even tell you if he's gotten a point. He may have a point just from an assist, but
Just one.
he hasn't scored a goal in any of the games. And honestly, he started out on the first line. He's moved down as far as the third line. And I was watching him last night, and he falls down. He's like sliding around because he can't stay on his feet. He had a chance at a breakaway last night. They got him a pass, and in about 3 seconds, the 2 defenders that were behind him were in front of him. And I was just like, okay, I understand. Listen, I'm trying to give him some slack because I understand. I think he's 39 years old.
Yeah, it
He's-
looks
he's
like his
not-
age is catching up to him finally.
It is for sure, but it was just I put him on the bad because I was just watching him and I was just like, good heavens. This poor man, you can tell he's trying. It's not from lack of trying. It's just like Grant said, it's just catching up to him, and it's just a little bit brutal to watch. But we're rooting for him because
at least he's letting Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven live in his house.
what a guy, what a legend for that.
What a man.
Absolutely. So you're in the mid list because of that. But also, Grant just reminded me, I'm getting sidetracked again. Wyatt Johnson I was gonna throw him in on the good list on just the fact that, can we just appreciate the fact that he's 20 years old, he's got 4 goals and an overtime winning goal that was absolutely crucial in turning around the Vegas series in Game 3. Can we just talk about how a 20-year-old is just that good, Grant? I know you watch the Stars. Like, am I just crazy, or is Wyatt Johnson just? I don't know. I just love watching him play. So
He honestly looks like our best player right now, outside of maybe Miro Heiskanen. But I mean,
Boy, Miro.
obviously, it's kind of hard to compare a defenseman and a forward on like what they have 2 major responsibilities. But yeah, he doesn't look like he's 20 when he's playing. You
No.
just watch him play, and it looks like the dude's been in the league for 6 years, and he just does all the little small things right, and he's always in the right spot at the right time somehow. The puck just finds him, and he's so skilled with it that he can just flick a wrister in 2 seconds, so where he can toe drag around somebody, and it's going to be crazy to see what he can become. And yeah.
It's yeah.
Can we just appreciate Jim Nill and the scouting department real quick?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, sorry, we're getting distracted, but even Logan Stankoven, I mean, just a short little self and his just little energy he brings. Like, because you got these vets, right? You got Jamie Benn Sagan, Suter, you got Pavelski, you got these Craig Smith, you got these guys that have been around, that have done it, played a lot of playoff games, and like these, Harley's, Stankoven, Wyatt Johnson, these guys are they're just fun because you can tell they're absolutely just having a blast out there. Anyways, but Stankoven has just been a great energy out there
Stankoven
too.
is like I swear he's like 5'7". I don't know his actual listed height, but he is so short. But he plays like he is like 6'7". He just tries
I
to run
know.
anybody and everybody over. He
Yeah,
tries to take the puck from anybody. It don't matter what size the dude is in the corner. He's gonna go after him. He's gonna be like, "Give me
I
that."
know.
He's like Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, it cracked me up because Stan Coven got absolutely I think Mark Stone hit him, and it just
Oh
the
yeah.
slow-mo replay cracked me up because you just see Logan get taken out, but you could tell he just gets right back. I don't know. He's just that play just cracked. Like you would have thought like, oh man, like a lot of those guys that like hurt somebody, you could almost felt like Logan enjoyed that to a degree, like the way he just I don't know, just and then of course Jamie Ben crushed Mark, I think right after that, but still just watching Logan, he'd be cracking me
He
up,
looks like a
just like you said.
child out there.
I know. So, anyways, sorry, I just had a just I was just thinking about them too and how to give them their flowers. And Dakota wants to correct us and say that Stan Coven is five
I,
foot eight. Thank you,
I
Dakota.
wasn't correcting. I was just mentioning it because I looked it up just in case.
Yeah, so 5 foot eight, we gave him a little bit extra there. So, anyways, now we're gonna move on to the injured. And if you know anything about the Texas Rangers, my goodness, the training, personal trainer guy, whoever is in charge of the health and conditioning training,
Dakota,
should
pop
be
quiz.
should be investigated. Yes, give me the name. He needs to be
Name all
investigated.
14 players on the IL for the Rangers, Dakota.
Are we doing like both the offense and defense, like pitchers and batters, just for clarification?
All 14.
Right. Let's see. Dane Dunning, Nathan Eovaldi, Josh Boers, Josh Young, Wyatt Langford. That's all I can remember. Like, I know it's like starting pitch. Oh, Jacob DeGrom, Tyler Molly. I think that's how you
Mhm,
pronounce it. Max Scherzer. That's three
mhm.
more.
How about
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember the rest. I know I
was
got
that
eight.
8?
That was eight. That's all I can remember.
You said Wyatt, right?
Yeah, I made sure to say Wyatt, which is eight. So 8 of 14.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Grant, I'm trying to think myself. Who the heck am I missing?
You got Justin Foscue. You got Austin
Oh
Uh,
Pruitt.
yeah.
You got
uh,
Cody Bradford,
Cody. Yeah.
Carson Coleman,
Brockberg.
Brock Burke, and
Brockbert. Yeah.
the last
Punching a
one.
wall.
I can't remember the last one off the top of my head.
Either way, as you can tell, there's a lot of freaking injuries with the Rangers. Somehow, I don't know after losing 2 to the Rockies if I doubt we're probably still winning the division, but we are at least still somehow surviving with all these injuries to a degree. Anyways, let's just go with those real quick. Just on the news, the Rangers have an MLB leading, as Grant said, 14 players on the IL.
Update: they are
Josh Sborz
still winning the
returned.
division by half a game.
Thank you, sir. So see, look at that. We're just hanging in there. But Josh Sborz just returned to the IL with more rotator cuff issues, and Wyatt Langford hit the IL with a hamstring strain, and Dane Dunning hit the IL with a rotator cuff issue as well. So Grossman fills in for Langford, and Grant Anderson, the super awesome Grant Anderson, has been recalled for Josh Sborz. And Owen White was recalled for Dane Dunning. So some opportunities for some young players to step up and improve and help us win. And speaking of not young player, Max Scherzer is facing a pushback. Of course he is, in his rehab due to nerve issue in his arm. So just getting delayed there for Scherzer coming back. Feel like who knows at this point? Who knows? But hopefully he can get back sooner rather than later. But certainly want him 100% healthy when he does. And just even more bad news, this just came out recently, is that Evan Carter was a late scratch out of yesterday's lineup, and he remains out of lineup today as we record this, as he is dealing with lower back stiffness. Doesn't seem to be, don't want to jinx anything, knock on wood, but doesn't seem to be anything too crazy, but certainly don't like to see anybody not playing with any sort of injury, so hopefully that's not serious and he can return. So yeah, there we go. A lot of information there. It went on a bit of a rabbit trail. But that leads us to our favorite last segment, and that is the boat trip of the week. So we're going to dive right into that and figure out who's joining and who's still on it. So the boat has seen some players return to the land this week, as 3 players will be leaving the boat. So Josh Green was he on the boat? Did we put him? Did I miss this?
Yeah, he was on the boat.
Yeah, we put him on the
Oh,
boat. Yeah,
okay.
he's at
So
24 points.
Josh Green, has been he got put on the boat, but he's put up 8.3 points per game in a lesser, more defensive role, which yes, he has made some nice shots and has been just a nice presence out there against the Thunder. So, Josh Green, congratulations and welcome back off the boat. We appreciate you learning your lesson. Leody Taveras, since April 27th, is batting 347 average with 1.021 OPS solid, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, and 17 hits in 14 games. So my guy, well done. You are off the boat, although would you learn how to catch a ball maybe? Just, my goodness, sometimes.
He did it against the Rockies too.
I know, him and Corey Seager had it so easy, and Leody's running like 1,000,000 miles an hour. He's like, watch what I can do, and just doesn't do it.
Hey, let me get you. Oh.
Anyways, sorry. But Leody, because you can hit the ball, we will allow you to come off the boat. Congratulations, sir. Jose Leclerc is also leaving the boat, as since April 12th, he has a 1.54 ERA, 17 strikeouts, and only 2 runs allowed in 11 and 2/3 innings. So, congratulations, Jose Leclerc. Thank you for returning back to your ways and learning again. Please don't join the boat a 3rd time. Let's just be done with you, please. And staying on the boat is Dwight Powell. At this point, he's definitely the captain. He's not going anywhere. And Yanni Hakanpää and Joe Pavelski will all stay. Pavelski has 1 point in the Stars' 10 playoff games. So, those 3 guys are still hanging on there. Haven't learned it. Hopefully, Joe Pavelski. I mean, Yanni Hakanpää can't even really prove himself off the boat yet because he's not playing. But Joe Pavelski certainly, hopefully, will. And guys, the new addition to the boat is none other than the Mr. Yeri Rodriguez. And in 9 and 2/3 innings, he has pitched a 10.24 ERA and a 2.28 WHIP, which is walks and hits per inning pitched, giving up 11 runs. So Yeri Rodriguez, get to the boat, get on there. And my goodness, would you just get better, because that is brutal. The last thing we need is people like you absolutely ruining. We need better. We just need decent pitching, and you're not even decent. You're just absolutely awful, sir. Get on the boat. Garbage. Grant, tell me how you feel about Yuri Rodriguez.
Well, Yuri Rodriguez should not be in the MLB, let alone pitching 9 and 2/3 innings in the MLB. And honestly, at this point, it's just because there's no other options.
Facts.
Let's
Dakota,
put Travis Jankowski in the bullpen, see what he can do.
Oh, Blondie as a pitcher, that'd be great. I don't really get anything. I'm not super familiar with him besides the fact that he kind of stinks. So, Gary, get good, buddy.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I will turn it back over to Grant or Dakota. I know Dakota will end us, but unless Grant's got anything else to add, that's all we got.
No, I don't really got anything. So, Dakota, take us away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the DNG Network, wherever you're listening to, whether you're listening to the audio version, watching the the video version on Spotify, watch it on YouTube, or just simply wherever you get your podcast content. So if you don't mind, please consider checking out all of our little like socials, our YouTube page, our YouTube channel, or Instagram page, or Spotify. Anything that your heart desires, share it with a coworker, share it with your friend, share it with your dog, share it with your mom, your dad, whoever you think likes sports the most, like us. And yeah, make sure to smash the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and commenting down below any video ideas or suggestions you have on the YouTube portion or the YouTube part of this episode. And then if you're on Spotify, consider checking out maybe some previous episodes and hitting the follow button as well. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed. As I'm Deck.
And I'm Neil.
And I'm Grant.
And this is the D&G Network. Adios, amigos.
Bye-bye.
Bye.